Let's set the scene for this deep dive. The date is March 3rd, 1986. We're in a village in Rajasthan called Sureli.
And what happens next is it's a nightmare. A witness, Gulab Chand, he goes into a neighbor's house.
He hears a child crying. He finds a 3-year-old girl who the court only ever calls V, and she's unconscious, she's bleeding.
Yeah, and there's really no mystery about who did it. I mean, he sees the accused, a man named Chatra, fleeing the room with his dhoti still undone.
It seems open and shut, and at first it was. He was convicted in 1987. But then, just nothing.
We're nothing for 26 years. The High Court doesn't even hear the appeal until 2013.
And when they do, they acquit him. It's shocking. It then takes until 2025 for the Supreme Court to finally have the last word in State of Rajasthan v. Chatra.
That timeline is just staggering, 40 years. But the reason this case is so important isn't just the delay. It's why the High Court acquitted him and how the Supreme Court completely dismantled that logic.
Right. Let's get into that because it's probably the most disturbing part of this. The High Court's reasoning was that the little girl, she didn't verbally accuse him in court.
The record says she just stood there and shed silent tears. And the High Court took that, the response of a traumatized 3-year-old, and called her a hostile witness.
Which is just a complete misunderstanding of what that term even means, and a misunderstanding of trauma.
A total misunderstanding. A hostile witness is someone who is actively trying to sabotage the case, changing their story. Not a terrified child. They basically used her silence against her.
So how did the Supreme Court fix this?
They corrected it decisively. They said you simply cannot put the entire weight of the prosecution on a traumatized child. Her silence is in hostility. Her tears were the testimony.
Her tears were the testimony.
Yeah. They said her inability to speak in a terrifying courtroom doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Okay, so with that argument dismantled, the defense had to pivot.
Yeah.
And they went after these tiny technical details, right? This whole sitting versus standing thing.
It was a classic nitpicking strategy. The defense basically argued that because the first police report said the accused was sitting on the victim, but the witness later testified he saw him standing and running away.
That the whole case should be thrown out.
That the entire investigation was flawed.
Yes.
It's desperate.
Of course it is. In the middle of that chaos, who's going to remember the exact posture second by second?
Exactly what the Supreme Court said. They distinguished between minor discrepancies, which happen, and major contradictions that actually break the case. Whether he was sitting or standing is totally irrelevant to the fact that he was there.
And all that nitpicking falls apart anyway when you look at the medical evidence?
Yeah.
The smoking gun, really.
This is the absolute clincher. The doctor found injuries not just on the little girl,
but on the accused's private parts as well.
Right. And the defense had no explanation for that. None. This is where the legal standard for circumstantial evidence, the Panchial principles, comes in. You need a perfect, unbroken chain of events.
And those injuries on the accused himself just lock that final link in the chain.
Precisely. It made the chain watertight. So even without her verbal testimony, you had the witness, the victim's injuries, and the accused's injuries. Her silence didn't break that chain.
So, after 40 years, what does this case really leave us with? For the public, I think the takeaway has to be how vital immediate medical evidence is.
Absolutely. The body can testify when the voice can't. And for lawyers and judges, it's a powerful reminder to protect vulnerable witnesses. You have to understand the context of trauma.
Still, that timeline? 40 years? It's hard to call that justice, even with the right outcome.
It's a very sobering reality of the system, but I think it's important that the Supreme Court didn't just send it back for another trial. They ended it. They provided that final closure.
That's true. But it does leave you with one final kind of terrifying thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If that medical evidence hadn't been perfectly preserved for 4 decades, would a predator have walked free today because of a technicality?
Yeah.
That's something to really sit with.